Ambassador Zektar walked into the great meeting hall of the Galactic Council. His large purple body moved with confidence as his 4 arms swayed at his sides. The Vorthek Empire had ruled over 12 star systems for 200 years. No one had ever said no to them before. The meeting hall was huge and round. Hundreds of different alien species sat in floating chairs around the room. There were blue fish-like creatures from Aqua Prime, tall gray beings with big heads from Centauri, and many others. They all turned to look at Zektar as he walked to the center of the room. "Council members," Zektar said in his deep voice, "the Vorthek Empire wants to explore the territory beyond Sector 7. We need new worlds and new resources for our people." An old blue alien stood up. His name was Elder Finn, and he had been on the council for 50 years. "Ambassador Zektar, you cannot go there. That is human space. No one goes to human space." Zektar laughed. The sound was loud and harsh. "Humans? Those weak little pink creatures? We have read about them. They are small and soft. They have only been in space for 300 years. My people have been flying between stars for over 1,000 years." "You do not understand," Elder Finn said. His voice was worried. "There are warnings in our oldest records. They say they are watchers. They say death follows curiosity. They say the humans see all." Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a tall insect with many eyes. "My grandfather told me stories about the human territory. He said ships go in, but they never come out the same. The few that return speak of invisible watchers and moving stars." Zektar waved his 4 arms in the air. "Stories, old tales told to scare children. I have 100 warships. Each ship has enough firepower to destroy a small moon. What can these humans do against that?" Far away, in a small room on Earth, Dr. Lisa Wong was reading the same old records that Elder Finn had talked about. Lisa was a scientist who studied alien life forms. She had short black hair and wore thick glasses. She had been reading these files for 10 years, and they always made her sad. The files told the story of first contact with the aliens. 300 years ago, humans had been excited to meet other life forms. They had sent peaceful ships with scientists and diplomats. They wanted to make friends and learn about the galaxy, but the aliens had seen humans as weak. The first alien ship that met humans had tried to capture them and make them slaves. The aliens thought humans would be easy to control because they were smaller and had less advanced weapons. They were wrong. The human ships had fought back in ways the aliens did not expect. Humans did not fight fair like other species. They used tricks and traps. They attacked from hiding places. They made the aliens confused and scared. When the fighting was over, the alien ship was destroyed and all the humans had survived. More alien ships came to attack the humans. Each time, the humans won. But the humans did not chase after the aliens or try to conquer their worlds. Instead, the humans did something that surprised everyone. They disappeared. The humans moved all their ships and people to a part of space that was far from the main trade routes. They built hidden bases and secret stations. They made their territory into a maze that only they could understand. Then they sent one message to all the alien species in the galaxy. The message was simple: stay out of our space, and we will stay out of yours. Most aliens were happy to agree. The few who tried to enter human space either disappeared completely or came back with their minds broken. They spoke of ships that appeared from nowhere and vanished like ghosts. They talked about computer systems that stopped working for no reason. They said the stars themselves seemed to move when humans were watching. Lisa closed the file and looked out her window at the city below. She knew that somewhere in space, Captain Jake Murphy was getting ready for another group of aliens who thought they could challenge humanity. Lisa wished things could be different. She wished humans and aliens could be friends. But she also knew that in a galaxy full of predators, humans had learned to be the apex predator. Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of his ship, the Frontier Spirit. Jake was 35 years old with brown hair and green eyes. He had been fighting alien invaders for 10 years. His ship was not big or fancy, but it was fast and smart. Most importantly, it was invisible to alien sensors. "Captain," said his communication officer, Amy Foster. Amy was young with red hair and blue eyes. "We are getting a message from the border stations. A large Vorthic fleet has entered our space." Jake nodded. He had been expecting this. The Vorthic Empire had been growing stronger and more aggressive. It was only a matter of time before they decided to test human defenses. "How many ships?" Jake asked. 112, Amy replied. "They are moving in attack formation toward the inner colonies." Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Send the message to all stations. Code Red. The Watchers are awakening." All across human space, hidden stations received the message. Computer systems that had been sleeping for months suddenly came to life. Invisible ships began to move toward the Vorthic fleet. The humans had been preparing for this day for 300 years. The Vorthic thought they were hunting prey. They did not know they had just become the hunted. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker sat in the dark control room of Monitoring Station Alpha 7. The station was built inside a large asteroid at the edge of human space. From the outside, it looked like just another rock floating in space. But inside, it was full of the most advanced sensor equipment in the galaxy. Steve was 28 years old with short blonde hair and brown eyes. He had been working at the monitoring station for 3 years. His job was to watch for any ships that tried to enter human territory. He was very good at his job. The control room had dozens of screens showing different parts of space. Each screen could zoom in on areas that were millions of miles away. The sensors could detect a single small ship from 50 light years away. They could tell what kind of weapons the ship had, how many people were on board, and even what they had eaten for breakfast. "Steve," called out Danny Clark from across the room. Danny was the chief engineer who kept all the sensors working. He was older than Steve, with gray hair and a thick beard. "I am getting readings on Sector 12. Looks like our Vorthic friends have arrived." Steve turned to look at the main screen. Red dots appeared, showing the positions of the alien ships. There were so many dots that they looked like a red cloud moving through space. "Count them," Steve said. Danny typed on his keyboard, and numbers appeared on the screen. 112 ships. Looks like they mean business. Steve pressed a button and spoke into his microphone. "This is Alpha 7 to all stations. We have 112 Vorthic ships entering Sector 12. Begin Phase 1 of the Confusion Protocol. All across human space, other hidden stations received the message. Beta 12 station was built inside a gas giant's moon. Gamma 3 was hidden in a nebula cloud. Delta 5 was disguised as a broken satellite. Each station had a job to do, but the Vorthic fleet moved forward in a straight line. Admiral Zektar stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Star Crusher. He was feeling confident. His ships had the best weapons and the strongest shields. He had defeated many enemies before. "Admiral," said his navigator, a younger Vorthic named Coulter, "our sensors are picking up some strange readings." "What kind of readings?" Zektar asked. "I am not sure, sir. It looks like there are gravitational anomalies ahead, but that should not be possible in empty space." Zektar looked at the sensor display. It showed swirling patterns where there should have been nothing but vacuum. Run a full diagnostic on the sensor array. These readings must be wrong. What Zektar did not know was that the humans had placed thousands of small devices throughout their territory. These devices could create false gravitational fields and project fake sensor readings. From Monitoring Station Beta 12, the humans were making the Vorthik see things that were not really there. Lieutenant Sarah Kim was the censor, officer at Beta 12. She was 26 years old with long black hair and a calm personality. She was watching the Vorthik fleet on her screens and slowly adjusting the false readings. "Make them think there is a nebula cloud to the north," she told her assistant, "and put some fake asteroid fields to the south. Force them to go through the middle corridor." The fake readings appeared on the Vorthik sensors. To them, it looked like they were entering a dangerous area full of space debris and energy clouds. They had no choice but to change course and go where the humans wanted them to go. On the Star Crusher, Navigator Coulter was getting confused. "Admiral, our star charts do not match what we are seeing. According to our maps, this area should be empty space, but our sensors show obstacles everywhere." "Maybe our maps are old," Zektar said. "Space changes over time. Asteroids move, nebulas expand. Just find us a safe path through." Coulter tried his best, but every path he chose seemed to lead to more obstacles. He did not know that the humans were changing the fake readings every time he made a decision. They were like a mouse in a maze, being guided exactly where the humans wanted them to go. Admiral Kate Ross was watching everything from her command ship, the Liberty's Edge. Kate was 42 years old, with short brown hair and gray eyes. She had been fighting aliens for 15 years, and was one of the best military commanders in human space. The Liberty's Edge was invisible to the Vorthik sensors. It used special technology that bent light and radio waves around the ship. To alien eyes, there was nothing there. But Kate could see everything the Vorthik were doing. "They are taking the bait," she told her crew. "The fake sensor readings are working perfectly. They think they are making their own choices, but we are controlling every move they make." Her tactical officer was a young man named Ben Taylor. Ben was 25 years old with red hair and green eyes. He was very smart and understood alien psychology. "Admiral," Ben said, "the Vorthik are getting frustrated. Their communications show they are arguing about which path to take." "Frustration leads to mistakes," Kate nodded. "Good. Frustrated enemies make bad decisions. How long until they reach the convergence point?" Ben checked his computer. "At their current speed, about 6 hours." "Perfect," Kate said. "That gives us time to position all our ships. Make sure every captain knows the plan. We want to surround them completely before they even know we are there." On the Vorthik ships, the crew members were starting to worry. Their navigation systems kept showing different readings every few minutes. Their communication equipment was picking up strange interference. Some of the younger crew members said they felt like they were being watched. Engineer Takhtar was working in the engine room of one of the smaller Vorthik ships. He was trying to fix a problem with the ship's sensors when he noticed something odd. The sensor array was working perfectly, but the readings it was getting did not make sense. "These gravitational readings," he muttered to himself. "They change too fast. Real gravity fields do not move like this." But when he reported his concerns to his captain, he was told to stop worrying and keep working. The Vorthik were proud. Warriors who did not like to admit when something was beyond their understanding. From his station at Alpha 7, Steve Parker was coordinating the entire operation. He had contact with dozens of monitoring stations, hundreds of invisible ships, and thousands of sensor devices. It was like conducting a huge orchestra where every instrument had to play at exactly the right time. "Danny," he called to the engineer, "how are our fake readings holding up?" Danny checked his instruments. "Perfect so far. The Vorthik still think they are navigating through natural obstacles. They have no idea we are guiding them." Steve smiled. This was what humans did best. Other species relied on brute force and big weapons. Humans used intelligence and patience. They turned the enemy's own strengths against them. Phase 1 is complete, Steve announced to all stations. The Vorthic fleet is exactly where we want them. Begin Phase 2. Start the technical interference protocol. All across the Vorthic fleet, small problems began to appear. Navigation computers started showing minor errors. Communication systems developed slight static. Weapon targeting systems became less accurate. Each problem was tiny by itself, but together they created a feeling of unease and confusion. The Vorthic did not know it yet, but they were no longer in control of their own destiny. The humans had taken over without firing a single shot. Admiral Zektar was getting angry. His fleet had been traveling through human space for 12 hours, and nothing was going right. Ships that should have been easy to find were missing from his sensors. Star positions did not match his navigation charts. His communication officers reported strange voices in the static that seemed to whisper in languages they could not understand. "Navigator," Zektar shouted at Coulter. "Where are we?" Coulter looked at his instruments with worry in his eyes. I am not sure, Admiral. Our position shows we should be in the Kepler system, but the stars are in the wrong places. And our chronometer says we have been traveling for 6 hours, but the fuel consumption shows 12 hours of flight time. That is impossible, Zektar growled. Check all the instruments again. What the Vorthic did not know was that the humans had been playing with their perception of time and space. Special devices hidden throughout the area could affect how alien brains processed information. The Vorthic thought they were seeing real stars, but they were actually looking at holographic projections that the humans could move around like pieces on a chessboard. On the human ship Liberty's Edge, Tactical Officer Amy Foster was watching the alien fleet with interest. Amy was 30 years old with brown hair and smart blue eyes. She had studied alien psychology for 8 years and understood how different species reacted to stress and confusion. "Admiral Ross," Amy said to her commander, "the Vorthic are showing classic signs of spatial disorientation. Their formation is becoming loose and disorganized. Some of their ships are starting to fall behind." Admiral Kate Ross nodded. "How are their stress levels rising quickly?" Amy replied. "Their communications are becoming more frantic. The younger crew members are starting to panic, but the older officers are trying to maintain discipline." Kate looked at the tactical display. The Vorthic fleet was spread out over a much larger area than when they had first entered human space. Some ships were miles off course, following false sensor readings that led them in circles. "Perfect," Kate said. "Confused enemies make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, we can exploit them." Dr. Kevin Martinez was working at a special research station called Omega Base. Kevin was a scientist who studied how alien minds worked. He was 35 years old, with black hair, and wore thick glasses. His job was to understand why different alien species acted the way they did. Kevin was watching video feeds from inside the Vorthic ships. The humans had secretly placed tiny cameras on the alien vessels years ago, when the Vorthic had stopped at neutral trading stations. The cameras were so small that even the best alien security systems could not detect them. "Interesting," Kevin said to his assistant, a young woman named Maria Sanctus. "Look at how the Vorthic are reacting to the confusion. The younger ones want to retreat, but the older ones are getting more aggressive." Maria looked at the screens. She could see Vorthic crew members arguing with each other. Some wanted to turn back, while others wanted to push forward and fight whatever was causing their problems. "It makes sense," Maria said. "The Vorthic are a warrior culture. When they face a problem they cannot understand, their first instinct is to attack it." "Exactly," Kevin agreed. "And that is exactly what the humans are counting on. The more confused and angry the Vorthic become, the more likely they are to make a fatal mistake. On Monitoring Station Beta 12, Communications Specialist, Rachel Davis was listening to the Vorthic radio transmissions. Rachel was 27 years old, with red hair and green eyes. She could speak 12 different alien languages and understood the psychology behind their communication patterns. "This is interesting," Rachel said to her team. "The Vorthic are starting to report ghost ships on their sensors. Ships that appear for a few seconds and then vanish." Her supervisor, Lieutenant Commander Tom Wilson, looked at the data. "Are we showing them fake ships now?" "No," Rachel replied. "These are real. Human ships. Our stealth technology is so good that the Vorthic sensors can only detect us for brief moments when we want them to. It is making them think they are seeing things that are not there." Tom smiled. "So they know something is out there, but they cannot get a clear look at it. That must be very frustrating for a warrior species." "Very frustrating," Rachel agreed. "Listen to this transmission I just intercepted." She played a recording of two Vorthic officers talking to each other. Their voices sounded worried and confused. Captain Mortak to Captain Veltar. "Did you see those ships on your sensors? I saw something, but it vanished before I could get a clear reading. What kind of technology can do that? I do not know. But I'm starting to think the old warnings about human space were not just stories." Tom and Rachel exchanged looks. The psychological warfare was working perfectly. Back on the Star Crusher, Admiral Zektar was losing his patience. His fleet was spread out across a huge area of space, and he was getting reports of technical problems from every ship. Navigation systems were giving false readings. Communication equipment was filled with static. Even the food processors were malfunctioning. "This is not natural," he said to his second-in-command, a veteran warrior named Gartek. "Someone is doing this to us." "But who?" Gartek asked. "We have not seen any enemy ships. Our sensors show nothing but empty space." "Then our enemies are using stealth technology," Zektar decided. "They are hiding from us, picking off our systems, one by one. This is not honorable warfare." What Zektar did not understand was that humans had a different idea of honor than the Vorthic. To the Vorthic, honor meant facing your enemy in direct combat. To humans, honor meant protecting your people and your territory by any means necessary. If that meant using stealth and deception, then that was what they would do. Captain Jake Murphy was piloting his ship, the Frontier Spirit, through the maze of confused Vorthic vessels. His ship was completely invisible to their sensors, but he could see everything they were doing. Jake was watching Admiral Zektar's ship and waiting for the right moment to reveal himself. "Captain," said his science officer, Dr. Lisa Wong, "the Vorthic stress levels are reaching critical points. Some of their crew members are starting to have nervous breakdowns." Jake nodded. "I almost feel sorry for them. They came here expecting an easy fight, and instead they found a nightmare they cannot understand." "Should we contact them?" Lisa asked. "Offer them a chance to surrender before things get worse?" Jake thought about it. "Not yet. They need to understand that they are completely outmatched. If we contact them too early, they might think they still have a chance to win." On the Vorthic ship Thunderstrike, Engineer Loktar was trying to fix the ship's navigation system for the 5th time that day. Every time he thought he had solved the problem, new errors would appear. It was like the ship's computer was fighting against him. "This is impossible," he muttered. "These systems were working perfectly when we left home. Now they are acting like they have been infected with some kind of virus." Loktar was closer to the truth than he knew. The humans had developed computer viruses that could affect alien technology without being detected. These viruses did not destroy the systems, but they made them unreliable and confusing. Engineer Loktar to bridge. He called on his communication device. "I need to report something strange." "What is it?" came the reply from the bridge. "I think our computer systems have been compromised. The errors are too organized to be random. Malfunctions. Someone is controlling them from the outside." There was silence from the bridge for a moment. Then the captain's voice came through, sounding worried. "Are you saying we are under attack?" "I am saying we are under some kind of attack," Loktar replied, "but not the kind we are trained to fight." All across the Vorthic fleet, similar conversations were taking place. The alien warriors were slowly realizing that they were not fighting a traditional enemy. They were fighting an enemy that could attack their minds, their technology, and their confidence without ever showing itself. From his command center, Steve Parker was coordinating the final phase of the Maze Protocol. Every human station was working together to guide the Vorthic fleet toward a specific location in space. It was like herding dangerous animals into a cage, except the cage was invisible, and the animals did not know they were being herded. "All stations report ready," Steve announced. "The Vorthic fleet will reach the convergence point in 2 hours. All human ships are in position and ready to reveal themselves." The trap was almost complete. The Vorthic had been guided exactly where the humans wanted them. Soon, they would learn the final lesson about why no species enters human territory and survives the experience unchanged. The Vorthic fleet finally arrived at what looked like an empty system. Admiral Zektar stared at his main screen, trying to understand what he was seeing. There were no planets, no asteroids, no gas clouds. Just empty black space with distant stars. "This cannot be right," he said to Navigator Coulter. "Our sensors led us here, but there is nothing here." "Maybe this is where the humans want us," suggested his second-in-command, Gortek. "Maybe this is their trap." Sektar laughed, but it sounded forced and nervous. "What trap?" "There is nothing here. If the humans want to fight us, let them come out and face us like warriors." At that exact moment, something impossible happened. The empty space around the Vorthic fleet suddenly filled with ships. Hundreds of human vessels appeared from nowhere, as if they had been invisible and had just chosen to become visible. The Vorthic crew members gasped in shock. One moment they had been alone in empty space, and the next moment they were completely surrounded. Human ships were above them, below them, and on all sides. The aliens had been trapped without even knowing it. "How is this possible?" Coulter whispered, staring at his sensor readings. "Where did they come from?" The human ships were unlike anything the Vorthic had ever seen. They were sleek and smooth, with no visible weapons or engines. They seemed to flow through space like living creatures rather than machines. And they had been hiding there the entire time. Watching and waiting. Captain Ben Taylor stood on the bridge of his ship, the Constitution. Ben was 32 years old, with dark hair and calm brown eyes. He had been waiting in this position for 8 hours, his ship completely invisible to alien sensors. "Open a communication channel," Ben told his communications officer. The main screen on the Vorthic command ship flickered, and suddenly, Admiral Zektar was looking at a human face. Ben Taylor looked calm and confident, not at all like someone who was afraid of the large alien fleet. "Admiral Zektar of the Vorthic Empire," Ben said in perfect Vorthic language. "You have entered human territory without permission. You have ignored all warnings to stay away. You now have 3 choices." Zektar was so surprised that a human could speak his language that it took him a moment to respond. "What ... What are my choices? First, you can turn around and leave our space immediately. We will allow you to go in peace and forget this ever happened. And the second choice?" Zektar asked. "You can surrender your weapons and request diplomatic talks. We will escort you to a neutral location where we can discuss your reasons for coming here." Zektar's forearms trembled with anger. The idea of surrendering to humans was almost impossible for him to accept. And the third choice? Ben's expression did not change, but his voice became colder. You can choose to fight. But I warn you, Admiral, that would be a very bad decision. On the human ship Liberty's Edge, Admiral Kate Ross was watching the conversation while preparing her fleet for battle. She hoped the Vorthik would choose one of the peaceful options, but she knew their proud warrior culture would probably force them to fight. Chief Science Officer Maria Santos was monitoring the alien fleet's energy signatures. Maria was 29 years old, with long brown hair and intelligent dark eyes. She had studied alien technology for 6 years and could predict what the Vorthik would do next. Admiral, Maria said quietly, their weapon systems are powering up. They are going to choose to fight. Kate sighed. I was afraid of that. Signal all ships to prepare for defensive maneuvers. Remember, we want to disable them, not destroy them completely. On the Star Crusher, Admiral Ziktar was trying to count the human ships surrounding his fleet. But every time he thought he had counted them all, more ships seemed to appear from nowhere. His sensors were showing impossible readings. How many ships do they have? He asked his tactical officer. I cannot tell, Admiral. My sensors show different numbers every time I scan. Sometimes it looks like 300 ships. Sometimes it looks like 1,000. What the Vorthik did not know was that the humans were using holographic projectors to make their fleet look much larger than it really was. Some of the ships the aliens were seeing were real, but many others were just illusions created by advanced technology. Ziktar made his decision. His pride would not allow him to surrender to a species he considered inferior. All ships prepare for battle. Show these humans what Vorthik warriors can do. The moment the first Vorthik ship fired its weapons, everything changed. The human ships did not fight like any enemy the Vorthik had ever faced before. Instead of forming battle lines or fighting in organized groups, they scattered in all directions. Some human ships vanished completely, becoming invisible again. Others moved so fast they seemed to teleport from one position to another. The Vorthik found themselves shooting at empty space, while human ships appeared behind them, fired once, and disappeared again. Captain Danny Clark was piloting his ship, the Freedom, through the confused Vorthik formation. Danny was 28 years old, with blonde hair and blue eyes. He had been trained in the human style of space combat, which was completely different from how other species fought. Hit and run, he said to his crew. Attack fast, then vanish before they can shoot back. Make them waste their ammunition shooting at ghosts. His ship fired a precise beam that disabled the engines of a Vorthik cruiser, then immediately cloaked itself and moved to a new position. The Vorthik ship was left floating helplessly while its crew tried to figure out where the attack had come from. All around the battlefield, the same thing was happening. Human ships would appear just long enough to fire a single precise shot, then vanish again. They targeted engines, weapon systems, and communication arrays. They did not try to destroy the Vorthik ships completely, just disable them. On the Star Crusher, Ziktar was watching his fleet fall apart. His ships were firing their weapons in all directions, but they were not hitting anything. Meanwhile, human attacks came from everywhere and nowhere. This is not how space battles are supposed to work, he shouted in frustration. They are not fighting with honor. Admiral, called his communications officer, we are losing contact with our ships. The humans are jamming our communications. Then signal with lights, Ziktar ordered. Use the old methods, but even the light signals were being blocked. The humans had surrounded the Vorthik fleet with a cloud of tiny particles that absorbed and scattered light waves. The alien ships could not even see each other clearly, let alone coordinate their attacks. Engineer Amy Foster was working at a jamming station hidden inside a fake asteroid. Amy was 26 years old with red hair and green eyes. Her job was to disrupt all Vorthic communications and make it impossible for them to work together. "This is almost too easy," she said to her partner, Lieutenant John Miller. "Their communication systems are so old-fashioned compared to ours. It is like trying to jam a radio with a quantum computer." "Do not get overconfident," John warned. "The Vorthic may be primitive, but they are still dangerous when they are desperate." John was right. As the Vorthic realized they were losing badly, some of their ships began to act recklessly. They started ramming attacks against the human vessels, hoping to cause damage even if it meant destroying themselves. But the human ships were ready for this too. They used their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid the ramming attacks, leading the desperate Vorthic ships into collisions with each other instead. Within 30 minutes of the battle starting, half of the Vorthic fleet was disabled. Their ships floated in space with dead engines and broken weapons. The other half was still fighting, but they were scattered and confused. Admiral Ziktar finally understood the truth. His mighty fleet had been defeated not by superior weapons or larger numbers, but by superior tactics and technology. The humans had turned space combat into an art form that the Vorthic could not match. "Cease fire," he ordered over the few communication channels that still worked. "All ships, cease fire." Captain Ben Taylor's face appeared on the main screen. "Again, have you made your decision, Admiral?" Zektar looked around his damaged bridge. Half of his crew was injured, and his ship systems were failing one by one. His pride as a warrior was broken, but his responsibility to his people was more important. Double quotes, we ... "We surrender," he said quietly. "We request medical assistance for our wounded." Ben nodded. "Medical ships are already on their way." "You fought bravely, Admiral, but you were fighting an enemy you did not understand." As human medical ships moved toward the damaged Vorthic vessels, Zektar realized something that shocked him. The humans could have destroyed his entire fleet in the first few minutes of battle, but they had chosen to disable his ships instead of destroying them. They had shown mercy to an enemy who had invaded their territory. For the first time, Admiral Zektar began to understand why no species entered human territory. It was not because humans were monsters. It was because they were something much more dangerous than monsters. They were patient, intelligent, and capable of winning any fight without even trying hard. The Vorthic had learned their lesson, but the cost had been their pride and half their fleet. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Zektar sat in a medical room on the human hospital ship Mercy. His left arm was in a healing device, and his pride was wounded more than his body. Around him, Vorthic crew members from different ships were also receiving medical treatment from human doctors. What surprised Zektar most was how gentle the human medical staff were. Dr. Lisa Wong, a small human woman with kind eyes, had spent hours treating his injuries. She spoke to him in his own language and explained everything she was doing. "Why are you helping us?" Zektar asked her. "We came here to conquer your territory. We attacked your ships. By the laws of war, you could leave us to die." Lisa looked up from the medical scanner she was using to check his arm. "Because that is not who humans are," she said simply. "We fight to defend ourselves, not to cause unnecessary suffering." "I do not understand your species," Zektar admitted. "You have technology that is far beyond ours. You could have destroyed my entire fleet in minutes. Instead, you disabled our ships and then saved our lives. This makes no sense for a warrior culture." Lisa smiled sadly. "We are not a warrior culture, Admiral. We are a survivor culture. There is a big difference." Before Zektar could ask what she meant, the medical bay door opened. A human woman entered wearing the uniform of a high-ranking officer. Zektar recognized her from the battle communications as Admiral Kate Ross. "Admiral Zektar," Kate said with a respectful nod. "I hope you are feeling better. We need to talk. Kate was joined by Captain Ben Taylor and Dr. Kevin Martinez, the human psychologist who had been studying alien behavior. They sat down around Zektar's medical bed, and Kate activated a small device that created a privacy field around them. "Before we begin," Kate said, "I want you to know that you and your people are free to leave at any time. We are not holding you as prisoners." Zektar was surprised again. "You are letting us go after we invaded your space?" "Yes," Kate replied. "But first, we want to make sure you understand what happened here and why it happened." Dr. Kevin Martinez leaned forward. He was a thin human with glasses who spoke very softly. "Admiral, what do you know about human history?" "Very little," Zektar admitted. "The galactic records say you are a young species that only discovered space travel 300 years ago." "That is correct," Kevin said. "But what the records do not tell you is what kind of world we came from. Earth was not a peaceful planet, Admiral. For thousands of years, humans fought each other in terrible wars. We learned to be very good at warfare, because if we were not good at it, we died." Captain Ben Taylor continued the explanation. "When we first met other alien species, we tried to be peaceful. We sent diplomats and scientists. We wanted to make friends and learn from other cultures. What happened?" Zektar asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "The aliens saw us as weak," Ben said. "They thought humans would be easy to conquer and enslave. Several species attacked our peaceful ships and tried to capture our people." Kate took over the story. "We learned very quickly that the galaxy was full of predators. Species like yours that believed strength came from conquest and domination. So we made a decision." "What decision?" "We decided to become the apex predator," Kate said simply. "We used all the knowledge we had gained from fighting each other on Earth, and we applied it to space warfare. But we also decided we would only use that knowledge to defend ourselves." Dr. Lisa Wong had been listening from across the room. She came over and joined the conversation. "Admiral, humans learned something important from our history on Earth. Aggressive empires always collapse eventually. They make too many enemies and spread themselves too thin. We decided we did not want to become another failed empire. So instead," Kevin continued, "we became something else. We became the Watchers. We built our territory into a fortress that no one can attack successfully. We developed technology that makes us invisible to our enemies. We learned to fight in ways that other species cannot understand or counter." Zektar was beginning to understand. "You made yourselves too dangerous to attack, but not threatening enough to unite the galaxy against you." "Exactly," Kate said with approval. "Every species that has tried to enter our territory has learned the same lesson you just learned. We are not monsters who will hunt you down and destroy your worlds. But we are also not victims who will allow ourselves to be conquered." Ben activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. Human territory was marked in blue, and it was much smaller than the Vorthic Empire or many other alien nations. "Look at this map, Admiral," Ben said. "Human space is only 12 star systems. We could have expanded to control hundreds of systems by now, but we chose not to. We have everything we need in our small territory, and we do not want to rule over other species. But if you stay small, other species will think you are weak," Zektar protested. "That is how the galaxy works." "No," Kate said firmly. "That is how the old galaxy worked. We are creating a new way. We have proven that a small, well-defended territory is stronger than a large, aggressive empire. Your fleet of over 100 ships was defeated by our small defensive force." Dr. Kevin Martinez showed Zektar some data on a tablet computer. "Admiral, we have been studying the Vorthic Empire for many years. Your expansion is already causing problems. You have too many enemies and not enough resources to fight them all. Your empire will collapse within 50 years if you continue on your current path. Zektar looked at the data and felt a cold feeling in his stomach. The human analysis was correct. The Vorthic Empire was growing too fast and making too many enemies. They had been so focused on conquest that they had not noticed their own weakness. What do you suggest we do? He asked quietly. Learn from us, Kate replied. Stop trying to. Conquer other species. Focus on making your existing territory strong and prosperous. Become a defensive power instead of an aggressive one. But that goes against everything the Vorthic believe in, Zektar protested. We are warriors. Conquest is our way of life. Dr. Lisa Wong sat down next to him. Admiral, humans were warriors too. Some of the most violent and aggressive creatures in the galaxy. But we learned that true strength comes from protecting what you love, not from taking what others have. We still fight, Ben added, but we only fight to defend ourselves in our way of life. That kind of fighting has a purpose and meaning that conquest never has. Captain Jake Murphy entered the medical bay at that moment. He had been overseeing the repair of the damaged Vorthic ships. Jake was tired, but satisfied with how the operation had gone. Admiral Zektar, Jake said with a nod. Your ships are repaired and ready for travel. We have also loaded them with enough supplies to get you safely back to Vorthic territory. You repaired our ships? Zektar asked in amazement. Why would you do that? Because we want you to go home and tell your people what you learned here. Jake replied. We want them to understand that humans are not their enemies, but we are also not easy targets. Admiral Kate Ross stood up and activated a communication device. I have arranged for you to speak with someone very important before you leave. The holographic display flickered, and suddenly Zektar was looking at an elderly human woman sitting in what appeared to be a government office on Earth. The woman had gray hair and kind, but intelligent eyes. Admiral Zektar, the woman said. I am President Ellen Hayes, the elected leader of the human government. I wanted to speak with you personally before you return to your people. Zektar was honored that the human leader would take time to speak with him. President Hayes, I apologize for invading your territory. I now understand that we were wrong. President Hayes smiled gently. Admiral, humans make mistakes too. The important thing is that we learn from them. I want to offer you a formal treaty between our peoples. A non-aggression pact that guarantees peace between humans and Vorthic. What would this treaty require? Zektar asked. Very simple terms, President Hayes replied. The Vorthic Empire agrees never to enter human territory without permission. In return, humans agree never to attack Vorthic territory. We also offer to share some of our defensive technology to help you protect your own worlds. Zektar was shocked. You would give us military technology after we attacked you? Defensive technology only, President Hayes clarified. Technology that can protect you from other aggressive species, but cannot be used to attack others. We believe that a galaxy full of strong defensive powers is better than a galaxy full of weak aggressive ones. Admiral Zektar thought about everything he had learned in the past few days. The humans had shown him a completely different way of thinking about power and strength. They had defeated his fleet, but then healed his wounded. They had captured his ships, but then repaired them. They offered friendship to an enemy who had tried to conquer them. I accept your treaty, he said finally, and I promise to tell my people what I have learned here. The galaxy needs to know the truth about humans. What truth is that? President Hayes asked. Zektar looked around the room at all the humans who had treated him with respect and kindness despite his aggression. That humans are not the monsters we feared. You are something much more dangerous than monsters. You are teachers. You show other species a better way to live. President Hayes nodded approvingly. That is the greatest compliment anyone. Oh,